how has the concept of genocide become, as you state, politically vulgarized? And why is it dangerous to politicize the concept of genocide?
Well, genocide had a meaning in the early stages. I mean, it's not a matter of the definition, but the way it was understood. Genocide meant what the Nazis did to the Jews, for example. That was genocide. By now, the term is used so broadly that people even talk about committing genocide against 5 people, or a massacre somewhere with a couple hundred people is called genocide. And in fact, it's used in a very restricted way. So we use the term genocide to refer to atrocities committed by someone else, not our own. So it's not genocide. Let's take a real case. Now let's take Clinton and Blair sanctions on Iraq. That actually was called genocide by the distinguished international diplomats who administered the oil for food program, the so-called humanitarian aspect of the sanctions. Dennis Halliday, who resigned in protest because he said they're genocidal. Hans von Sponeck, who followed him, resigned in protest on the grounds that these amount to genocide. Von Sponeck, in fact, published a detailed book about it called Another Kind of War. They did condemn the sanctions as genocidal. What was the result? Try to find a copy of von Sponeck's book. Try to find a reference to it. Try to find a review. Try to find anything. This is wiped out of Western commentary. Last time I looked, there was not a single review in the United States. And the only review in England, I think, was in the Communist Party newspaper.
The names, genocide in particular, come into being against a background of the 20th century and mass slaughter of the 20th century, and particularly the Holocaust. And against that background, Lemkin convinced that the international community, and particularly states in the international community, have an obligation to intervene when there is genocide. He is successful in getting the international community to adopt a resolution on this. Then follows the politics around genocide. And the politics around genocide is when is the slaughter of civilians a genocide or not? Which particular slaughter is going to be named genocide and which one is not going to be named genocide? So if you look at the last 10 years and take some examples of mass slaughter, for example, the mass slaughter in Iraq, which is, in terms of numbers at least, no less than what is going on in Sudan, or the mass slaughter in Congo, which in terms of numbers is probably 10 times what has been happening in Darfur. But none of these have been named as genocide. Only the slaughter in Darfur has been named as genocide. So there is obviously a politics around this naming, and that's the politics that I was interested in.
And what do you think? What do you think this politics is?
Well, I think that what's happening is that genocide is being instrumentalized by the biggest power on the earth today, which is the United States. It is being instrumentalized in a way that mass slaughters which implicate its adversaries are being named as genocide, and those which implicate its friends or its proxies are not being named as genocide. And that is not what Lemkin had in mind.
So what needs to be done to reverse the political vulgarization of the concept of genocide? Can it be still used in...
It can be used if we are willing to become civilized, to recognize that crimes are crimes, whether they commit them or we commit them. We could, for example, listen to Justice Robert Jackson's injunction to he was the chief prosecutor at Nuremberg. He spoke to the tribunal and said, we have to recognize that crimes are crimes, whether they commit them or we commit them. We're handing these defendants, he said, a poisoned chalice, and if we sip from it, we must be subject to the same conditions. If not, the whole trial is a farce. Is that applied? I mean, when Britain and the United States invaded Iraq, it's a textbook example of aggression with absolutely no justification. Textbook example of what the Nuremberg Tribunal called the supreme international crime, which differs from other war crimes in that it includes all of the evil that follows. For example, the rise of ISIS and the death of millions of people. That includes all of that. Can you find any commentary in the United States even calling this a crime? Obama is greatly admired on the left because he said it was a blunder, just like German generals after Stalingrad, who said the two-front war was a blunder, which it was. They should have knocked out England first. That's as far as you can go. The head of Human Rights Watch, Kenneth Roth, when this is specifically brought to his attention, can only go as far as saying it was a mistake. Was it a mistake when the Nazis committed aggression? When the Russians invaded Afghanistan, was that a mistake? Well, you know, if you were a loyal communist, it was a mistake. We don't call it that. But we cannot rise to the level of civilization. Even the head of Human Rights Watch, in the leading left liberal journal of intellectuals in the West, New York Review, Obama, anybody, can't say that we committed a crime. Can't say that. At most, we make mistakes. Go back to Justice Jackson. Anybody listen to his words? Take Vietnam. The worst crime of the post-war era. Worst crime. Millions of people killed, 4 countries, 3 countries destroyed, horrible, people still dying from the chemical warfare that was initiated by John F. Kennedy and expanded. Is it a mistake? Is it a crime? Is anybody guilty, responsible? Right now, the Obama administration is sponsoring a big memorial of the Vietnam War. Then Obama made a passionate speech with his elevated rhetoric about what happened. He even did talk about crimes, talked about the crimes that were committed against American veterans who were not treated properly. What about the Vietnamese? Let's take Jimmy Carter, human rights president. Right after the war, hadn't been forgotten, 1977, he was asked in a press conference, do we owe any debt to Vietnam? He said, we owe them no debt because the destruction was mutual. 1977, human rights president. Was there a comment? A few. I commented on it, a couple of other people, but that just passes. Until we rise to a minimal level of civilization, we can't use the term genocide.